let's do the NFC, shall we, Beau? Like, I feel like for the first time in a while, this is Philly's division to win. I don't even think it was our division. A nice shirt. He's got the Home Dogs T-shirt. Home Dogs
Who's this
gonna
ugly
eat.
fuck right here?
It's me. You mad you didn't get on that? You had it was how terrifying your dog mask was.
My
the reason.
brutal mask looked like the shit from Nightmares, brother. Like, we can't commercialize that. It's scary.
Not at all, dude. Not at all. I talked to Ken Golden. He's we did a podcast with him yesterday. That's going to air in the near future. Nice. He's a big time card trading
Auctioneer,
guy.
Yeah,
you know, he's the god in that weight class. But this guy said we could sell the dog mask, like an OG dog mask. I think, what did he say would be worth, Matt?
Well, he said if you had sold it right after the Super Bowl at the Apex, you could get like $25K. But now maybe.
Oh, hey, I'm in my cabin right now.
We don't want to.
I got mine down at my basement. I put it on sometimes, Buffalo Bill style.
Well, we don't. Yeah. It puts the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, baby.
Is that what you say to your family?
Would you fuck me?
No, you don't say.
Yeah, tuck it back a little bit.
Yeah. Well, no, the thing about the dog mask is I have totally torpedoed the value of that thing, evidently, by being a podcaster for a couple of years, because he said it went down to like $5,000. But part of that is timing, though, and I heard the hard truth from Ken Golden, which tells you everything you need to know. Okay, so Philly, I think this is their division to win, man, and I think. Yeah, I don't even think you could say that when we won the Super Bowl. They have an easy schedule. Dallas is wounded. There was a stretch, and you remember this stretch. It was before I got there and probably went a little after guys like me left. But, like, the Eagles could not beat the Cowboys in the regular season at full strength. Like, we never beat Zeke. I don't think I ever beat Zeke while we were there. We beat, the Albert Morris Cowboys. So
DeMarco Murray Cowboys.
Yeah, they had our number, and they had the Eagles number, and he's on the decline, and he's kind of a metaphor for kind of the state of that team. And I'm a Zeke fan and all that. I just know that his play is on the decline a little bit.
Well, I think when you think of Zeke and his listen, I'm not one to ever say a player's past his prime, but he's not playing as well as he has in the past. And I think of those years when he was really dominating. I think what comes to mind is the O-line that they had with, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, and who are those? Like Tyron Smith, who's a guy that just unfortunately got injured yesterday. And that guy's a freak. I mean, that's a dude that's a cornerstone of their team, really. And so for him to go down is a little bit of a problem. Basically what I'm saying is they don't have the O-line that they used to have. And I think Zeke's performance lately has been a part of that. But I think, when I think of the NFC East, not to like oversimplify things, but I'm kind of just thinking of, how is Hurts going to play this year? How is Dak going to play? Like I said, that's a gross oversimplification, but in my mind, that's a little bit what it comes down to. And Dak played really, really well at times. And, I think Hurts has got a little bit of room to grow, but I'm hearing a lot of good things from camp about him. So I'm hoping that he gets there. I think everyone knows that we're a little bit of Eagles homers on this pod, Chris.
Yes, so this is like a pseudo Eagles pod. And, I'm pulling for this guy, man. He's got all the leadership abilities. He has the love of his teammates. He says all the right things. He carries himself well. He's exciting to watch. But he makes some mistakes where you're like, dude, it's like you blanked for a second. He'll be fine if he eliminates the bad throws. I mean, like, that sounds oversimplified, but take the profit, make plays when you can.
Burn the ball when you have to.
Burn it.
Live to see another down.
I've seen him roll out and just, instead of just burning the ball, throw it into traffic. Now, like, listen, the last quarterback did that in Philly. This guy does it way less, okay? But the thing about him that I'm optimistic a little bit. I don't want to say optimistic because people say that I think he's going to be gangbusters this year, but he's got his first 2-year stretch with the same coordinator since high school. So I'm very cognizant of that. His rookie year was kind of a wash. You had the Carson situation, you had COVID, all this stuff. Like, this guy's going to get his feet under him. He'll be better this year. But the question is going to be, when you play in Philly, is it enough? Howie is always up to something. So even if you play well, like, how far does this kid have to take this team, this really loaded roster, to guarantee a seat at the table next year with all these guys in the draft and everything? And that's going to be the question. You're right. It does come down to Jalen Hurts.
And if we're just speaking a little bit on the roster in Philly, like, it's a good team, especially like there's a lot of good offensive weapons. There's some good young weapons with Goddard, Smith. And then I think like the O-line is going to be good. Our boy Lane, who I'm also rocking on the shirt.
Yep.
Kelsey was gassing up Landon Dickerson to me recently when I was talking to him.
Yeah, I FaceTimed those guys last night. They were walking around. It was Kelsey and Lane. You know, when you FaceTime Lane, I'm always excited. But then when he picks up and it's him and Kelsey, I'm like, everybody I needed to see right here. And they're walking around aimlessly in the Miami Hilton or wherever they are by the pool. And I'm asking them how practice is. And one of the first things they said was, man, when that motherfucker Landon Dickerson pulls, he puts all his body into people, bro. Like he is just... They said we would love him. Obviously, that O-line's been a strength of that team. Then you add A.J. Brown, Goddard's central now. Like, there's no Zach Ertz to split, touches with. Like, he's the guy. And I love Dallas Goedert. I think Dallas Goedert's going to be a household name this year. Smith in year 2. And then Juergens gets to develop behind Kelsey. Like, how lucky is that guy? You're not only developing behind a great center, but he's one that you can learn from because he's kind of similar.
I saw him stroke some like safety or linebacker on a pin pull this week, which was fun to see. But like it's almost like a little bit of a center version of a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers type thing to grow under a guy like Kelsey's the best. And I mean, we haven't even really mentioned the Eagles defense at all. The first guy that comes to mind for me is BG. I want him to fucking ball this year just because he's the best guy ever. But Fletch, Hargrave had a great year last year. Was rushing really well, was doing well. And then they got the big rookie nose guard, Davis, who I've heard good things about. I think he's got to come along a little bit and just kind of like get up to speed. But obviously he's a freak athletically. So he's going to be, hopefully fucking good. But we'll see. I think he's got a little bit of ways to grow.
He's learning from Fletcher. He's learning from Fletcher and Hargrave. Yeah. So it's, again, like you're not only drafting spots you need, like D-line depth is important. That was a big key to us winning the Super Bowl, was having like a bunch of guys. They have that, and the guy they draft gets to learn from somebody that he can learn a lot from, like Fletch or like Hargrave. And the same thing with Juergens on the other side of the ball. So like not only are you investing in the right players in the right places, but you're also investing in them in places that they're going to learn from older players. And a guy we didn't mention before we talk about the defense is Miles Sanders. He's a big swing guy for me. I love Miles Sanders. He's got to have a big year. Like it's time to be Miles Sanders because it's in there, dude. I knew he was going to be special when he fumbled a lot early in his rookie season, and Doug kept putting him back out there. That's a kid who's got some juice. Let's see it. And on the defense, you just said it. Like, they're going to be good. They got 2 good corners, Bradbury, Slay, invested in linebackers, which we never did in Philadelphia.
Real quick on that. TJ Edwards is a fucking baller, just a football player. He's a Wisconsin guy. I missed him, but I've been around him a little bit. And he's just one of those guys where he's just a fucking football player, middle linebacker. That's it. Like, really instinctual. He's a good player. Like, on paper, not as good as he is in reality, like on tape, which I think I kind of love that.
They have White as well, who came over from LA, and that move in and of itself said we're serious about addressing the linebacker room. And they draft Nakobe Dean, who, things have been positive on him. I think like it takes some catching up, but things have been positive. The interesting question to me is going to be, who do we like on third down? Because we know these D linemen as well as anybody. You've got Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Hassan Reddick, who we didn't play with. You have Hargrave. You have Fletcher Cox. I might be forgetting some other guys. There's going to be an odd man out on third down. So who do you like trotting out there?
I think you just got to ride the hot hand, man. Yeah. You got to see. I mean, first of all, BG, you have to put him out there. But I think whoever is rushing well, like I know, it's interesting because you can have a lot of deadly combinations. So I think you just kind of figure out who's rushing well, who's working well together, whose rushes complement each other. And, we'll see if they rush more or blitz more on third down. But I'm thinking they're going to rush. So just ride the hot hand.
So I agree with you. And that's unsettling for a rusher to hear, like, we're going to ride the hot hand, because like the way you get hot is consistency. Right. So that's tough. Yeah. But I agree. There's enough guys and there's enough mouths to feed that you got to kind of like spell it. And for BG, who looks really healthy relative to just tearing his Achilles, I put some film up the other day of him just denting Conklin in the Jets game. I don't know why you would try to block him with a split like that. Go to my Instagram if you want to see how to set an edge. But like Brandon Graham denting the pocket, because he's a real team rusher. Like he knows how to rush. Like he can rush with speed from a 3 technique. Like if you move him inside and say Josh Sweat's outside, who Josh Sweat like burns the edge, and BG would be a really good pocket pusher to change that drop target. And then on the other side, if you had like Fletch, who's just like, even at his older age, he's a million miles an hour vertical. And then because I used to love playing off Fletch where you could natural TE under him. And Hassan Reddick will make money doing that. So whatever they do out there, it's exciting.
Some 5 down looks, play some man behind, and then you can get, just pure 5-0 from the O-line and go to town on a bunch of games. But who the fuck knows? I mean, we'll see what they end up doing.
And on the other side, we talked about Dallas. Here's why they're wounded, man. And first off, like if you want to take the temperature of how things are going on these two franchises, look at the coaches. When they hired Nick Sirianni and he was shaky at the podium, who would have thought a year later, like he'd be yelling at the Jets in preseason and fans would be memeing him because they fucking love him so much. They're throwing flowers at him as he leaves the stadium against Washington late last year. McCarthy's under maximum pressure, man. Not only is it Jerry World, but you've got 2 legitimate head coaches under you. One has been a head coach in the Super Bowl, and Dan Quinn, and then the other one's this boy genius offensive coordinator who's probably going to get a look at head coach soon. And if you're not playing well week 7, everybody's going to be looking at Mike McCarthy. This is the year, right? And so for so many reasons, and not to mention Sean Payton's lurking in the booth. So like this motherfucker, Mike McCarthy's walking out of a loss like, is that Dan Quinn talking to Jerry over there? Like on the way to the bus, like what are they talking about? Like he's just butting into conversations, just making sure he's not being cucked. But like that's the kind of thing that McCarthy's got to worry about this year, and he's under maximum pressure. You're always under pressure in Philly, but people really like Sirianni. And then Dallas's 2 strengths just turned into kind of like question marks. You hit on it. They lose Lael Collins, who I think is a great tone setter, and then Steele is a question mark to me. He replaces him. Outside of Zach Martin, there are a lot of question marks now. Tyron Smith went down today as we speak. You mentioned that. And I think they lost a swing guy earlier in the offseason. Yeah. So
they got a young center, Tyler Biadasz, who's a Wisconsin guy, and I fucking love Wisconsin guys, but I think he's got a little bit of ways to go. So I mean, we'll see, man. But I do think that they have a good coaching staff. I mean, like you mentioned, they have a very well-rounded staff. So a lot of times the staff like that can hide problems. Not necessarily in the O-line when it's 3rd and 6 and you got to have it, but we'll see. I mean, I do think that they'll have some matchup problems up front, especially within the division, but who the fuck knows? And
then Dak's got to have people to throw to. That's like I said, O-line, you could always hang your hat on, and that they had like an embarrassment of riches outside, and they let Cooper and Wilson walk. Gallup's coming off an ACL, and then James Washington showed up. I was talking about how big he needed to be early in the year, and he gets hurt. So they're going to rely heavily on Jalen Tolbert and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, CeeDee Lamb's been really good. He's got to carry a heavy load. And I guess the question for me on defense is, I don't know if they're a dominant defense. Let's find out. I know they got maybe the best player in the division. I don't know. Is there a better player in the division than Micah Parsons at any position?
I don't know. That fucker is fun to watch, man. And to have a guy come in like that, so smooth, so bendy, and then also to kind of play all over, that's hard. I don't think people understand that because, like, rookies – a lot of times, when you're a rookie, you'll play a very specific role to get comfortable in it. And then later in the year, you'll expand that role. But he was all over the place from the get-go. And I think that's really commendable to just show how comfortable he is to play in a variety of different roles, do a bunch of different things. That guy's fucking good. He's fun to watch.
He's amazing, man. And I would rush him as much as humanly possible. The other guys on that line have to have a big year. DeMarcus Lawrence has to have a big year. It's been a couple years since we really felt his presence, and he's a player, so have a big year. And then Washington and the Giants, man, like they're just kind of floating around. Like, I don't know. Washington, why Carson Wentz? Like, I feel like this team needs a lot of the word on the street was they needed a bunch of leadership, and Ron Rivera and them go out and get Carson. I think this is his last chance. I'm pulling for him, man, big time, because, we know Carson. I think he's taken a lot of heat, but some of it's been deserved. Yeah. Some of it's been a little bit unfair.
So I'll be interested to watch, Carson return to the link, kind of see that, see the reception that he gets. Yeah. But yeah, no, it sound like you're about to talk about the Washington defense, and they have a good defensive line. Allen, Payne, Chase Young, who banged up a little bit, but I do want to steal that thunder from you, so go ahead.
No, he's going to miss a month. So it's like, it's a really good D-line. I got some questions offensively. Like, there's a couple guys that are supposed to be really good, and I think they are, but they haven't really played up to their potential. Antonio Gibson's been kind of challenged. I think he's real good. He's got to be more aggressive. He's got to hold on to the football. And then Samuel, who missed a lot of time last year, like, I'm just not buying, man. Like, I was really high on him in Carolina, and I don't know. So, and New York, oh, man, here's the statistic that kills a Giants fan. So, Brian, shout out to B. Nelly, who was on the Zoom earlier. Brian is lifelong Giants fan, and he was like, we're like Notre Dame now, where it's all legacy, and it's and I would disagree with that, Brian, because Notre Dame's still winning games, and I'm looking at the Giants here, and they haven't been above 500 in 5 years. That's fucking incredible, man. So Danny Dimes hasn't looked great. I'm looking for Kadarius Toney to step up. There's a lot of tantalizing skills there, but he hasn't been able to put it together, and he hasn't seemed happy. And Saquon, is he going to revive his career? I'd love to see him do that. He's got the right kind of coach. Yeah.
I think we're all kind of rooting for him.
Andrew Thomas is going to be a big deal for them, not just because he's a starting tackle in the NFL and he's a high draft pick for them, and he's improved. He really has. It's for that reason. We talked about Evan Neal and the struggles he may or may not have. Andrew Thomas went through that. He can coach him up. It's nice to have a guy who's a couple years ahead of you and has gone through what you've gone through. So he's got to be a player and a coach to that kid. And then on defense, Wink Martindale's got some fun pieces to work with. Interestingly enough, when you play in a Wink Martindale defense, you don't put up a lot of numbers as a rusher, or at least lately, because the ball is spread around so much. And as rushers, we love one-on-ones. We love to run hot or heat, four-man rush. Not a bunch of exotic pressures, because then we got to cross guards' faces and run right into slide or drop out. Yeah. And Azeez Ojulari, who's exciting, Thibodeau, who's going to have a lot of pressure on him, especially starting late after that hit the other day, which was a perfectly legal block. We hit that the other day. We don't need to beat that into the ground, but those two guys are going to have to justify all that intrigue, and it might be tough in Wink's defense, but one thing he's going to do is Xavier McKinney's going to have a year, because the safeties that Wink's coached in the past, Chuck Clark, Weddle, Earl Thomas, Tony Jefferson, guys like that, have flourished.
That's a great point.
Yeah, we'll see. Listen to the full podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast streaming platforms. Wherever you want to get the podcast, you can get the podcast. Pretty simple. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Podcasts get pretty wild. This is real tame.